Hey, what's going on? It's Doug Cunnington here, and today, what are we talking about? Finding your niche in 2021. Seems like a catchy title. Let me know in the chat if you can hear me. Welcome. Welcome, everyone. I can hear myself here, so I could take these babies out, and I have had kind of a little bit of a busy day. It's a little bit of a busy day running around doing some errands, and one cool thing is the co-working space that I work at is, there's cool people there. It's the Mr. Money Mustache HQ, and they have a few beers on tap, or they have a place where you can put kegs, and the supply chain's a little goofed up. So today I brought one of my homebrew kegs to share with the crew there, which was kind of fun. And so I was running around a little bit this morning. For people that are keeping track, I made it through dry January. It was great. I am actually publishing some videos on that on another channel that I've started, and there's a link in the description here. But today we will talk about finding your niche, and we're going to go through a couple sort of like key steps and key ways that you can come up with some ideas. And I will tell you right now, I'll get to the punchline really quickly. If you find something you're interested in and there are some products around it somewhere where people are making money by doing something in that industry or hobby or whatever it is, you're probably going to be able to figure out how to start a site, start a YouTube channel, start a podcast, build an audience, and earn some money. There are many different ways you can monetize, many different ways you could approach it. So we're going to look at a few different areas, some of which may be just straight up like Amazon affiliate sites, but it could also be about like building your brand and that sort of thing. So we have David in the house, Amelia, what's up? And Kiki, we have Inspo Sound, Adrian, Penny, John, good crew. Thanks everybody for hopping in, and shout out to David and Adrian for manning the station there and making sure that there's order over in the chat. We appreciate it. So I'm going to get right into it. We'll answer questions towards the end. I like to kind of hold those towards the end, and I'm not going to, I probably will ramble on towards the end, but I'll just get to the point because I know some people are going to watch this in the future and they won't be joining us live. And I appreciate everyone who did hop on live. If you are watching the recording later, please leave a comment and just say, hey, I watched it later and I do enjoy the live streams. So I will give a quick shout out to a sponsor who makes these live streams possible. That's Ezoic and their Site Speed Accelerator. If you haven't checked it out yet, there's a 7-day free trial and it helps your website load faster. It is fine to use for any CMS. So even if you don't use WordPress, but I think most people do use WordPress, you can still use their Site Speed Accelerator and it will help your site load faster. So check it out. If you do use it, I highly recommend using the DNS integration over the WordPress plugin. You'll get better optimization that way, and they guarantee an 80 or higher on the Google Page Speed Insight score. So give it a shot, 7-day free trial, thanks to Ezoic. So when you're choosing your niche, I started earlier saying it's really important to have some interest in the topic. And I've gone back and forth on that. Over the years, I've said, well, you know, if you like the business model, if you're into the process, you can make that work. If you enjoy the process, you can market and talk about and build a site, build a business around something that you really don't care about specifically, but you enjoy the process around it. Great example for that is the interview that I published on Monday with Carl Steinmeier. Shout out to Carl if he is around, but basically he is, he's sober. He does not drink, and he has a website on homebrewing beer. He likes the process and he likes marketing and selling products and creating content. So he's able to make that work. However, I think the best case scenario, especially if you're just getting started, is to focus on things that you're already knowledgeable about. You don't have to be an expert. You just have to have some interest or an interest to learn more. All right. So you could barely know anything. And the fact is, just about any topic, if you go research it for a couple hours, you're probably going to be an expert compared to most people in the world. So with that in mind, the first thing you can do to start looking for a niche is to figure out your interest. And there's going to be a couple other things that I'm going to mention. We're actually going to share my screen here and we can have a look over on Amazon. So there's going to be 3 areas that we look at. One is interests. And I'll break that down into a couple different areas because it's not necessarily just things that you do in your free time. It could be some other things as well. So I'll mention exercises that you can do to come up with some good ideas. You can also go the product route where you're purely looking for products. You can focus in a couple different areas. I mentioned Amazon, classic way to get started and find products that have just about everything. And finally, you could kind of go a different route and look at keywords, which I think that's the starting point for a lot of people before they kind of step back and look at the big picture. So that's what I want to do, is make sure we look at the big picture here. So we'll talk about interest, we'll look at some products, and then we'll look at keywords a little bit. Probably not as heavy on the keywords because we'll have references to other keyword research live streams where it's just built on keywords. So we won't spend too much time on that. So back to interest, and I'm curious for people in the chat if you have chosen a niche in your interest area, something that you care about versus just something arbitrary. And the reason why I think that's so important is I have run across so many people who either they started a site in something that they didn't care about, they weren't knowledgeable about, they didn't really give a shit about at all. And then they're putting all this time into it, and then they hate it. They hate the whole thing, and they're not able to push through the parts that get a little difficult. Now, another scenario is if people buy a site. So you may purchase a site from maybe a done-for-you place, and they got a niche, and they're telling you, hey, it's great. There's all these keywords and search volume, and the potential for this site is through the roof. And then you buy something that you don't know anything about and you don't care about. So you just end up with something that you don't care about. So when I've seen people who have started a blog and they weren't trying to make money at first, they were just like starting a blog, trying to do something creative. And then a few years later, they ended up in a situation where they had a great audience. They figured out how to monetize, and that's something you can do. Now, there are probably some scenarios where it's really good if you understand how you're going to make money ahead of time, but there's a few ways to do it, and you don't have to have it figured out right at the very beginning. As a business person, it is really good to know, like, okay, here's how the business model is going to work. But if you build something and you do have an audience, you can figure out a way to monetize. Opportunities will pop up. It might not be obvious. It might not even be directly related to the thing that you're doing, but you may be able to figure it out. So for example, if you're able to start a blog, this is just a made up example, but you can definitely find real examples of this in the world. If you started a blog on something arbitrary, let me just think. I'm not creative, so I'm just going to say, if you started a blog on tea, I'm drinking tea right now. So cheers. Cheers for the tea. I got my office mug here. Got some comments on that the last couple times. So if you do start, come on, focus up, baby. We can do this. There you go. Boom. A little dark. But if you started a blog on tea and you weren't an affiliate for anything, you were just really into tea and you were reviewing tea from these small, obscure tea blend places and just, I guess, markets for tea, you could later figure out that, maybe you could advertise for them, sure. But if you built an audience and maybe you had a podcast and a YouTube channel, you figured out how to build an audience, you could actually just create a course on building an audience because people are interested in that. And it's kind of meta because I've done similar things, but at the same time, like I have started a blog, so I could teach a course or coach people on how to start blogs or how to start a podcast, for example. So it might not be directly related to the thing that you created, but you might be able to use that blog or audience that you created as a case study so that you can share that with other people and teach them how to do stuff. So that's a great way to approach it. Okay, so let's talk about figuring out some interests. This is kind of a spin-off on some of the other like brainstorming techniques that I've used in the past, and I think I probably heard it from other people, but you could think about your hobbies. So that's a good place to start. So hobbies, fun stuff that you enjoy doing. But you could also look at sort of the other side of the coin, things that maybe frighten you or they aren't necessarily negative. You wouldn't want to necessarily start a blog on something that's just like completely negative. But if there's a sort of brighter side to that, that could be a great way to approach it. Because if it's something that is a fear of yours, then other people may also have that fear. So it's a good place to check it out. Now, if you're just trying to come up with ideas, try to list like 5 or 10 in those two categories. You'll probably have a pretty good set of ideas. Now, hobbies, fears, and then another place you can look is just things that you are interested in that you are maybe not a member of that community. Maybe you're not into that hobby area yet. So for example, if you always enjoyed photography and you thought you could be a photographer or you wanted to dive deeper into it, that would be a great area because you have like a couple things working for you there. You will learn new things as you're researching and you're creating your site and working on it. And it's fun to learn new things, especially where you can document your journey. And it's kind of a way that people were blogging early on in the blogging world. They weren't necessarily trying to just like earn money right away. They were just trying to share their story and document their journey. So that is totally fine. And it's a great way to learn too. So if you're publishing about your journey, you can look back and see the progress that you've made. And it will also force you to look a little bit harder at the work that you're doing. So if you're doing woodworking or if you're doing photography, maybe you're playing guitar or something like that, you will make progress and you might be able to make more progress because you're looking at your work in a more critical way. You're reflecting on what you've done. It's very easy, especially with like digital cameras these days where you don't have to get film developed. You could just take, thousands of pictures and really never look back at them. There's no cost to take more pictures once you have your gear versus, back in the film days, some people out there are old like me and, you used to take the film, get it developed. It would take a couple of weeks and then you would go through and look. And each one of those photos, it cost a little bit of money each time you get something developed. And it wasn't necessarily a trivial amount, especially if you're trying to learn and you're taking a lot of photos, for example. So quick recap on that part. So find something you're interested in. It's probably going to be better in the long run. You'll be able to stick with it longer. You will have an inherent interest in it. You'll be learning new stuff if it's something you're not already an expert in, or if you are an expert, you'll be able to share your knowledge on, which is great. You can also look at sort of like fears and things that sort of scare you. It's good to look at things in kind of a positive light. So you're not like, I guess, thinking about negative things all the time, or at least me personally, I wouldn't want to do that. And okay, so we'll leave it at that. So interest, I think it's really important. If you know that you get into the process and systems and personally that it's not going to be as big of a deal, you could dive into something that you're not as interested in. And I thought I was like that for a long time. And to some extent I am. I mean, if I'm learning something new, it is interesting, but as I've created more sites and done too much, and I shouldn't have, been dabbling in so many sites. I should have just focused on a few core things. I realized, you know what? If I don't really care about this site, I don't care about the topic, I'm going to ignore it. I'm going to do something else I'm more interested in. And at the end of the day, my love of the process and the systems wasn't enough to keep me active on some sites where I could do something else that's a little more fun. I think a lot of people are probably like that. Moving on to the next part is actually going to be a screen share time. So let me make sure I got some stuff going here so I could show you what's going on, and we can actually look at Amazon. Now, we will assume Amazon here. You don't have to monetize with Amazon, but for most people, most of the time, it's going to be the easiest route. It's going to be the easiest way to find products, to convert easily. And at the end of the day, it's probably still going to be more profitable most of the time when you're starting out. Once you have some traffic on your site, you potentially can earn more if you branch out into different affiliate programs, maybe working directly with companies. I highly recommend, which we'll talk more about, but I highly recommend finding a niche where there are some digital products that you can lean on. Those are going to convert at a lower rate, so perhaps not as many people will buy those products, but the payout is going to be higher. Your commissions will potentially be much higher. So let's switch screens here. And one of the best things to do is to just go over to Amazon and start browsing around. The nice thing is, you couple it together with the interest that you logged before, and then you have something, that you're interested in and that there's products around. So that's, again, important for monetization. And you could literally just start by looking at products and ignore your interest, because you will probably gravitate towards some of those things that you are interested in just when you're browsing around. So if people are just hopping on, I will answer questions towards the end. Feel free to ask ahead of time, although I won't be able to get to them for a little bit here, but feel free to ask and we'll circle back. So as we scroll down, I haven't been just to the home page in a little while here. Let's see what kind of stuff we have going on. So getting organized. These look like office things. Got some markers right here, and microphones and high-tech things right here. Let's look at this work smarter from home. Obviously, a lot of people are working from home these days, so there's a lot to go into here. I mean, you could really brand a site, like call it like yourhomeofficehub.com. Is that available? So then, I mean, it does, they do your job as far as the content that you can go after, the products that you can write about. So you got a home office, you could focus on video conferencing, organization, learning from home. So, and then we get into specifics as far as products, but let's just dive into a couple areas here and let's look at video conferencing stuff. Let's look at webcams here. A lot of people comment on my webcam, although I'm using my good camera over here currently, but the camera that I have is actually this one right here. I think the Logitech C920. I think it's the 920. Yeah, that's what it looks like. And it does a good job. It's really all about lighting. That's the secret. So as we look here, we see, there's tons of different Logitech. There's tons of different like products in general, but there's far more Logitech than I realized. So you could review these. There's plenty of these. And I would say if you started looking a little deeper, and you can start thinking of this when you are looking at these different products, before you're doing keyword research, basically start logging these mentally. You could even write them down on a piece of paper, but we're talking HD, We have 90-degree extended view, just some of these features that they're mentioning here. So you got wide angle. Some of these appear to have like a little cover, like this one right here looks like it has a little cover on there. So you can like cover up your camera so people can't see you. I don't have one of those, but okay, so that's cool. We've got some webcams. Let's look at headphones. So variety of headphones as well. We have some earbud style. We have like some Bluetooth over the ear situations. I just use my AirPods personally. Those seem to work pretty well most of the time. And then I don't have like a big cord. I do have these Audio Technica something or others here, but I only use these when I'm actually like recording a podcast and the audio, or when I'm like mastering a podcast or something like that, or one of my videos. And as we're scrolling down here, yeah, so we got a wide variety. Somehow they've thrown in a webcam in the headphone section, so that's a little bit odd. Now, one thing that they don't mention on here, which is the key thing that I was talking about, oh, I had both of the filters on, so that was my fault. So they don't talk about lighting. And in my opinion, after doing this stuff for a little while, you can kind of have a shitty camera. Mine's fine, but you can have a not so great camera if it's really bright. So if you have good lighting, you're in great shape. If you have a microphone and good lighting, like 90% of the people are going to be really happy with the content that you have. For a long time, I just used my camera that was on my laptop, and people would still compliment me on like the high quality, but really it was just bright lights. So I would say if I was starting a niche in the home office or video conferencing area, like in the home office hub, I would probably emphasize lighting, and then you could talk about all kinds of different lighting systems and how to properly set up lights so you don't look like you're underneath the sun or right next to the sun, but you're properly sort of evenly lit. And I'm still learning. I think I got a decent setup in here right now, but so every now and then I'm like, I could do a little bit better. So, okay. You can go into a deep rabbit hole, and I encourage you to do that when you're just browsing around. So I didn't have anything in mind when I started this, but we ended up taking a look at this home office thing, and there are at least, I would say, there's probably like 8 products like here just above the fold where you could focus on those, probably have dozens of products per each one of those. So we're talking at least, hundreds of pieces of content without going into deep long tail keyword research or anything like that. Maybe a lot more as I'm thinking about like the number of speakers and headphones and printers, some of the furniture, all those things. There are probably dozens, hundreds of individual types. So I know microphones can get kind of complicated quickly. I was chatting with someone at the co-working space just the other day where, you have this fairly straightforward Audio Technica ATR 2100, and it's fantastic. It does a really good job. I bring it on the road if I'm traveling and I need to record while I'm out there. And then you have higher quality studio mics that are for more like vocals and singing. And then you have other microphones unrelated to, office stuff, which may be more instrument related. So recording for music. So that's not necessarily video conferencing, but it's a little spin-off that you could probably cover if you were talking about the home office. There are people who obviously earn money as musicians. So that's a little bit of a tangent, but let's go back out top here. We'll look at one more example, and I will scroll down, click around, see what we can find. So we did the home office stuff. We have some apparel. How about, I've been sort of interested in home gym stuff a little bit. So let's look right here. And okay, so we're in foam. I went directly, and we have these right here, or at least something similar. And funny story, our dog Georgie is pretty crazy. She's awesome. She loves to play. So if you see, let's see, I want to dive in. See this bottom part right here? So each one of these squares has these little, it's like the extra pieces. You just peel them off, and then you can interlock your mats together. So you end up with like whatever 12 of these little end pieces. Georgie is like a kid, so she goes down to the basement with me, and then she'll pick up these little end pieces. It's like a kid that plays with a box that's really the trash. They don't even play with a toy. So she's carrying these foam pieces around, running around chasing me and trying to play with me. So if I get on the floor and stretch or something, she'll like lay the foam piece right on top of me. It's pretty funny. Okay, so in this case, back on track, we have a specific product, but what it has done is given us this breadcrumb trail right here. So I will zoom in right here. So we have this breadcrumb trail, and it tells us exercise equipment mats, accessories, exercise and fitness, sports and outdoors. So we can slowly go up this breadcrumb trail and see how broad we want the niche to be. Now, typically, I just tell people, go broad. Make it very encompassing so that you can look to add many products in the future. You don't have to. You don't have to go super broad in the beginning. In fact, I encourage you to really niche down and maybe go after exercise equipment, accessories for home gyms for quarantine, right? Go really specific at the beginning. And then you can make it more broad and go higher up later. So the good part, if you do that, is you'll probably be able to niche down, go after longer tail keywords, which you'll be able to rank for a little bit easier. And then you'll be able to broaden your scope as time goes on. So I think I've zoomed out nearly enough. Not quite. Okay, let's get it back. There we go. Okay. And Helen mentions that these are like little dovetails. Yep, it's like a woodworking dovetail situation. Awesome. And feel free, folks, to ask questions. I'm going to circle back around and answer those coming up in a minute or two here. Like 10 minutes. Who knows? All right. So in this case, instead of going to the broad category, we went to a specific product. Now let's go up the breadcrumb chain. So we've gone to accessories here. So now it's fitness accessories. We have a slam ball here. We have resistance bands. I have some of those. And we got a jump rope. We also have these resistance bands. I got a few of those too. And okay, tons of stuff here. So, I mean, you could really focus on these sort of like home gym situations. And some of these are not super expensive. So like this resistance band set is $22. So ideally, I mean, I would love to have a lot of products in the $100 range. However, these are obviously cheaper, and they are, I guess, what word am I looking for? There's less resistance to buy because they're cheaper. So if I was looking for dumbbells, which I was looking for dumbbells not too long ago, I was like, you know what? How much is like a 50-pound dumbbell? It's kind of expensive. I don't know if you have looked for dumbbells. Number one, they were just gone. Like you couldn't get them anywhere for any price. They were just gone for months. And then I saw them recently, and I was like, oh man, if you got like a set of dumbbells, it's going to be like $1,500 or more. So there's a wide range of prices, and these, you know, the exercise bands make it a lot more affordable, and they're not so heavy, of course, and they're not bulky. You could throw them in a bag, and if you're traveling or something, it's a lot easier to carry those around than a bunch of weights. So pros and cons, of course, but the fact is there are some sets that are more expensive. And I don't see any specifically here that are a lot more expensive. A lot are in this $20 to $30 range, but once you start looking around, you'll find some others that are more expensive. So one way to kind of get around that, let's see, we're in the resistance bands. Okay, so we'll search for resistance bands here, and then what we'll do to sort of filter and find some products that might be viable, we'll say from $50 to $100. So now here are some more expensive sets. They're potentially like higher quality, maybe more durable, that sort of thing. Yeah, these people look stronger. Look at that. I'm sure he's only working out with these resistance bands. Okay, so we got some other stuff. There's a wide price range, so that's good, and we can go back. And in fact, I'm just curious, are there any in the $100 to $200 range? And there are. So there's almost always a wide range of products if you start looking around. Now, these are a little bit different, but some people, my hunch is you could probably do some more diverse exercises or a different kind of a workout by using these barbell style resistance bands. So the point here, if we zoom back up and realize what we're doing, in this case, we looked at a specific product and then we went a little bit higher up in the breadcrumb chain. And what I'll do is pop back to where we were and see what else we can find. So back to accessories here. Let's go up another couple levels. So we're at accessories, exercise, fitness. We'll just go to sports and fitness and see how things are organized here. So it does give you some ideas on how to approach it. And now we're in a much wider topic area here. So now we have athletic clothing, we have the exercise and fitness, we have the fan shop, so that's going to be like merchandise and stuff. We got team sports, so that'll be actual like baseball, football, actual sports, golf, hunting, boating, fishing, game room, and backyard games. So you could have a site in the sports and fitness niche and cover all of these things. In fact, if you come over here and take a look, and we can zoom in over here, well, it just got a lot more, let me pull this down, it just got a lot more interesting because you got things spelled out a little bit differently. You have paintball and airsoft, running, swimming, team sports, racket and tennis, yoga, sports collectibles, and so on. So this gets deep and complicated really fast. And again, I don't recommend that you necessarily go after all of these all at once, but if you branded your site in a broad way, in the future, you could cover all of these topics. And some of the success stories, some of the people that I've featured recently, they're building giant sites. They're building really big sites with hundreds of pieces of content in under a year. Charlie, who I featured an interview with him last Thursday, he's targeting 1,000 articles in 2021 in less than a year, basically. So when you think about the scope of some of the sites, the fact that we have like that many keywords and products available, and again, each one of those little sections that I just mentioned, those probably can serve as their own niche. So if you dive into one of those, and you can see there are hundreds of products, there are several options for each one of those products, and you can have a huge site with lots and lots of content. On top of that, right, so we were kind of taking a product focus on that, but you also can look at something and figure out informational post. So I will recommend that folks go and check out my blog over at Niche Site Project, and specifically the Amazon affiliate section. So it is oriented around Amazon affiliate. We were just looking at Amazon. And again, the fact is it's probably going to be the best and easiest way for most people to monetize early on most of the time. Even if Amazon is paying a lower commission rate. They are still the bread and butter for a lot of people that have sites. So on the converse side, it's been a week and a half, but I interviewed Nigel, and he's out of the Netherlands. He has a site in Dutch and in German, and he is publishing content in the respective languages there. Amazon is just getting started in the Netherlands. They have a little bit more of a foothold in Germany, but the fact is Nigel's making most of his money, which I think he's earning about $15K per month or so as of the last couple months, December and January, and he got started a little over a year ago, roughly. Exceptional case. I wouldn't expect a lot of people to do what he has done, but he's been able to build his income pretty quickly. He's working on it, very hard, full time. And I believe that he's earning, I don't know, it's like 80% of his income from other sources, not Amazon. Something in that ballpark, I can't remember exactly, but you can check out the interview with Nigel, and he's blogging and sharing his story. Same with Charlie. Charlie's sharing his material over on his YouTube channel and at Niche Site Project. But here we have essentially this guide, and we have this nice roadmap here, so you kind of get an idea what to do. Highly recommend folks take a look at this, and I'll give a shout out to a guy named Thomas who emailed me the other day. This is a little bit of a tangent. Let me just show you. There's some navigation here. So we got a little bit of an intro, and then we have this map, so you can sort of follow that, but there is steps, right? So select a niche, build out the framework of your site, develop a content plan. You have an SEO plan. You can do some outreach if you want, but check this out. If you need to have sort of an idea what you need to be working on at a certain time, or you're just new to this industry, or if you're trying to explain this to someone. I know when I got started, people were like, what are you doing and why? And you try to explain it, and I've gotten better at it, thank goodness. But sometimes it's good for people, especially if they're like, hey, I want to do that too. Send them over to Niche Site Project. You can sign up for the email list. I send you all my templates and materials and stuff, all for free. And we'll come back to one of these points in a second. But Thomas sent me an email, and he was like, hey, I think I need some advice. I'm not sure if this person, this SEO guy that I hired, is ripping me off or not. And I'm probably going to do another video dedicated just to this in a podcast as well, because I see this fairly often. So Thomas served in the Army, veteran. Thanks for serving, of course. And he said, I would like to earn a little money on the side, like many of us would love to do that. And it's just how I got started, just thinking, hey, it'd be great to earn a little on the side. This looks kind of fun. We'll give it a shot. Thomas wasn't sure if he was getting value from the person that he hired. So the thing I told him without knowing anything, I was like, if you think you're getting ripped off, you're fucking getting ripped off. If you think your SEO guy maybe isn't the best SEO guy, he or she is definitely not the best. If the person was doing a great job, I think you'd know it. So I was like, hey man, I can maybe give you a little advice, but I'm expensive to hire. So maybe if you share some information with me, Thomas, I can talk about it and help other people. So basically, Thomas kind of had some idea of what we're talking about today. He knows Amazon affiliate. I think he watched a couple videos, maybe read some blogs, whatever. So he's loosely familiar with the niche site, the affiliate site model. Great. He went to Fiverr, hired someone to build a site that did some kind of WooCommerce thing. It's in some niche. It doesn't matter what it is. I don't know if he picked it or if the person picked it for him. And basically they built the site for him. So they built the site, they loaded it with some content, and he's paying about $300 a month for one blog post and some social media shares. So his social media is being managed, and it didn't sound like, and I didn't have a large amount of correspondence with Thomas, but basically he was like, I'm not really sure, I have all the documentation of what the person said he was going to do, but I really don't know if it's worthwhile or what. I didn't even look at the site. I just saw the Word docs with what Thomas is supposed to get, the deliverables, right? So it's essentially serving as the contract. And it was a lot of what I said. It was setting up the WordPress site, loading it with content, loading it with a logo, setting up WooCommerce, loading a theme on there, handful of plugins, and the general stuff that someone would do to set up a site. Now, I can't blame the contractor over at Fiverr for offering the service. He says, I'm going to do X, and I can't argue with the price, right? People could charge whatever they want. For me, there's not much value in it because I could set up such a site in a few minutes. I've done dozens of these. It's not a big deal. Really quick to set up a site. If you haven't done it before, it could save you weeks, right? I mean, it could save you a whole lot of time if you haven't set up a WordPress site before, you don't know about themes, you don't know how to configure everything. Like, it could be a big time saver. So I can't argue with that. It does seem a little expensive to get one article and then some social shares for $300 a month. Now, if the article is really good, maybe. If it's really high quality, maybe. The social shares, garbage. I mean, no one's fucking looking at those anyway, right? Who cares if someone is sharing stuff for a site that has no traffic, loads slow, has WooCommerce, it's like a store set up in there, and there's not much value. The kicker, though, is that the documentation, these Word docs that were prepared by the contractor, they had misspelled words. The grammar was off. I'm not sure what the situation was, but I was just reading it. I was skimming it, and I was like, this is really low quality. That was the contract, right? That was the list of deliverables, and there were incomplete sentences, misspelled words, missing punctuation, inconsistent punctuation, and just a lack of attention to detail. And it really, honestly, it pissed me off because I know there's a lot of people like Thomas who hear people like me, people like Alex Cooper at WP Eagle, Amelia, some of the other folks out there. Sorry if I'm forgetting your names, but there's some of us who are trying to do a good job to, teach people and not be sensational and say, hey, you can make all this money overnight and it's super easy. We're saying, hey, you got to do work, you have to do the reps and put in the time. But people also hear that you can hire and outsource people, and you can go to Fiverr and hire someone to do stuff. And then they have someone who is earning some money. Again, I can't blame the contractor for offering a service and someone hiring him. He's not doing anything wrong. It's just low quality. So if I were to pay for that and see the quality, I'd be like, oh, this is bullshit. I'm not paying for this. So I did advise Thomas. I was like, I would say get out as soon as possible. If you don't know what you're doing with your site, if you don't know how to make it work, that contractor is not going to be able to build a site and publish content, especially the quality in which the contract was written. There's no way the dude is publishing content that'll rank, that has any value or anything like that. It looked like the contractor had a grasp of setting up websites, but really wasn't an SEO or a qualified SEO. He knew the buzzwords and stuff like that. So overall, if you're in that situation, it's best to just limit your losses, stop immediately. So Thomas, if you do listen to this, I would cut your losses now, stop, reassess where the fuck you're at and what you're trying to do. I did send Thomas over to the blog page that I was displaying before, and I was like, if you are not sure exactly what the process is, have an understanding here and figure out where you are and then start there. you may have to start fresh, right? Thomas actually mentioned, hey, the site is loading exceptionally slow. The contractor isn't doing anything about it. And I'm pretty sure it's because it's on like a WooCommerce situation, which is kind of slow. If you need an e-commerce solution, well, I don't know shit about them. I don't know anything about e-commerce solutions. I know you don't need one for an affiliate site. So if you don't need it, there's no reason to have it set up. And if it's slowing down your site, that's no good, right? Man, all right. I think we're through the most part. I did say that we would talk about keyword research a little bit, but instead, I'm going to just say once you have some interest listed, once you check out some products, maybe you merge those two things together, make yourself a nice Venn diagram there, and then I can actually do that for you. Oh, there's not much of an overlap on that one. Let me try again. But basically, once you have your interest and you got some products that you could think about, then you could do some keyword research. All right, that just looks weird. I'll have to draw that later. I mean, this is a bad Venn diagram. There's no overlap. It's like a snowman with two circles, with two snowballs. So there's another live stream out there from the last couple weeks on keyword research. So if you do want to learn more about the keyword research angle, then have a look at those live streams. And I need some tea here. I got a cough. So what questions do we have? I know we had a couple pop in a minute ago, so I'll have a look at those. Thanks again to the fine moderators out there. I really appreciate it. It is extremely helpful. So let's check out some of these questions. All right. I think there was like one. At least one. Okay, Kiki asks this question. Oh, and I got to even give a shout out to Niche Website Builders. And I think I have a little overlay here. We could put this right over my eyes. Perfect. So Niche Website Builders, they do content for me. They give me 20,000 words per month. They just sent the drafts over recently, and you can get 10% more content if you use my coupon code. You can go to the link nichewebsite.builders/Doug. And then you sign up for the email list, and you'll be able to get your coupon codes there. They're kicking ass on link building for me, although I think they are limiting the people that sign up for some of the link building activities. But shout out to Niche Website Builders. And even if you're not going to buy anything today, as I mentioned, and I have mentioned in the past, head over to their site anyway. Hit them up on the chat. Say, hey, thanks for sponsoring Doug. We really appreciate it because the sponsors help this show go on. All right, Kiki says, since you're a beer maniac, have you had experience cooking with it? Yeah, a little bit. I have cooked. I mean, I put beer in a lot of different things when you just have it around, but some of the fun things that I've cooked, beer cheese soup, really good. There was a little while where I was on kind of I was very enthusiastic about beer cheese soup. So that's pretty good. A lot of times I'll just use it as like, instead of like chicken broth or something, like you put in some beer. And the key is you don't want to use anything that's too bitter. What happens when you add beer or really any kind of spirit, it concentrates whatever the flavors are in there. So if you put in a really bitter beer, say like an IPA or even a pale ale, if you put that into, say, chili or another kind of soup or something like that, it'll concentrate, it'll burn off the alcohol, so that'll be gone. You don't have to worry about the alcohol. It'll intensify that bitterness, so you'll end up with something that's too bitter. So most of the time, you want to use something that's kind of moderately to low bitterness. And, maybe if it's something like a beef stew, or maybe you're making a pot roast or something like that, Maybe something like a stout that's lightly bitter would be fantastic. So actually, I've cooked quite a bit with beer. All right. Any other questions out there? Let's see here. And Sudeep from India, what's going on? I'll try to say hi to everyone that I didn't mention before. We got Penny as well, John. And Stuart says, didn't manage through January without a glass of wine. And I did dry January. And I almost forgot. If you want to follow on for some other things that I'm working on, which are unrelated to marketing, I have another YouTube channel. There's only a couple of videos, but I am working fairly hard on the dry January video. So, going without alcohol for 31 days. There's a couple of videos over there. I am looking to do more there. So we'll see how it goes in the long run here. And what's up to Adina in India? What's going on? And then Art Kid, what's up? Helen and Rick, what's happening? All right. Dawn says, how would you do a review site without breaking the bank buying a load of gear? So basically, most people don't buy all the products. I have a video out there, Dawn, where I think I have a FAQ about it too. So nichesiteproject.com/FAQ. Basically, you just don't buy the products. So that's how you do it. You don't buy the products, but you write a review based on the information that's available. You can go to manufacturers' websites, Google, or basically just Google the product, and then you can learn all about it. Another rich source of information is forums or people that own the product and write reviews. So Amazon might not be a good place to go for that just because there's so many fake reviews and bullshit over there on Amazon. But you can find a lot of good information in forums, especially if there's like an active community. Reddit is another good place to get that kind of info. All right, Aman says, my site is ranking first on Bing, so will it rank on Google too? I have no idea. Oh, Kent, what's going on? Thanks for the compliment here. And okay, still making it through. Oh, and CJ says you're in the kids' fitness range, so you're watching closely. All right. And I think I'm making it through most of the questions here. Oh, the mastermind says, are these saturated? How to make space for a new site? Yeah, so basically, when I got started, people were like, XYZ is saturated, YouTube saturated, podcasts are saturated, niche sites are, specific niches are. Anytime you're in the weeds, like someone will comment if they've been around for a little while, like, hey, it's more saturated than it was. So most of the time, if it's like a growing industry or growing trend, people will say, hey, it's saturated. And the fact is, like, look at internet marketing. It's all marketers, number one, or people trying to be marketers, but there's new people that pop up all the time. Look at podcasts. There are new ones that show up, even though it seems like it's saturated. People have their own unique take, and the same applies for websites. I will say it definitely takes longer to start a site and get traffic now compared to a few years ago, but you can still find examples of people that started sites, got good traction quickly, and are making a lot of money. So watch the last 3 or 4 interviews that I've done. You can just go to my channel, and they're very recent. I've tried to do a better job naming some of the videos. So usually it's like X amount of money in X amount of time. Very clear, very straightforward. Watch those. Those are like, everything's in an industry that people would say is saturated. So how to make space, just get started and put your own unique spin on that kind of stuff. Sandro, what's up? Good to see you, buddy. And Paul from Paris. And Paul says, I've been hearing a lot about programmatic SEO on Twitter. I don't even know what that is. So if you want to explain more, then you can let me know. Maybe it's just been referred to as something different and I don't know what that is. Programmatic SEO. Best skateboards, what's going on? What do I suggest for a new site? Go all with informational content and then commercial content. Now I'd go 50-50. That's kind of the baseline recommendation that I make most of the time. Kiki says, do I think Amazon buying trends are a good thermometer for content, not just affiliate, but for informational, or for the latter, better to rely on forums and search engines? I would probably, let's see, Google buying trends, good for content. I would probably lean on forums and search engines and Reddit kind of stuff for informational. I personally haven't looked at the Amazon buying trends for ideas for informational content, but I think you could find what you need and maybe more in the forums. People are in the weeds there. I think if you just look at the buying trends on Amazon, it may not give you enough context to come up with as many keywords as you could. Naresh says, what will be the best way to make money in the fine art niche? I think, without knowing anything, is to sell the fine art. I have no background in that, but I would expect that's what you would do. I don't know the target of exactly what you're trying to accomplish. The default, right? If you were just like, hey, I'm into fine art and you could create a course on like appreciating fine art, or you can give real, when the world opens back up, you can give real life walking tours through cities. You can set up trips and like help people go to, a different city and walk them through the city, walk them through museums, and basically like curate their things that they're going to absorb and view. So that would be potentially a route, but I'm not really sure. I think the bottom line is like, let's say you start a podcast and a YouTube channel on fine art. You could just have ads, right? If you have an audience, people will pay you, right? If it's very specific, it may be a smaller sort of audience in general, but there are companies who would love to get a hold of a very small, specific, discerning audience. So you can still earn good money with that. Art Kid says, for people who are starting out and not native English, I recommend aim for non-English sites. Competition is much lower. You'll be impressed. Yep. And if you go check out and listen to Nigel's interview from a couple weeks ago, then you'll see exactly how well that could work. Samuel says, do I think weak content can be ranked with high quality backlinks? Yes. And you can see that all over the place, right? Pick any niche, go start Googling around. You will see like lower quality content. It's one of the common questions I see. Someone will say, I have really excellent content. A lot of times that's bullshit. People don't have as good a content as they think, but sometimes they do. And they will be outranked by inferior content because all these other sites have a ton of links, a lot of authority. They may have links directly to that blog post. They may have links just all over their site. And maybe it's like Business Insider or, fill in the blank. There's a lot of companies that are now publishing affiliate content because they have big websites that have been around for a while, but their content is kind of garbage. All right. Best borders, clubs. Since I'm a project manager, would I give some times on time management? Maybe you mean tips, especially when you're a student and a full-time writer. So the biggest tip that I can give you is don't multitask. When you're working on a thing, like just do that thing. Don't get too distracted. Email totally screws me up. So what I've been doing in the last couple weeks is pausing my inbox. There's a lot of things that I need to do in my email situation. And I'll go to my email because I need like one thing, little piece of information, critical piece of information. And then I get distracted and then I'm just in my email and I'm like, I'll just write back this one quick reply for this one person. And then next thing I know, I'm like, what did I come here for? What's going on? So I pause the email and that kind of eliminates that issue for having like new emails popping in and distracting me and that sort of thing. That said, I've gotten a ton more done in a shorter amount of time because I'm just looking at one thing. For example, content audit. So I'm like looking at niche site project. I've gone through and I've deleted and redirected so many pieces of content at this point. So if you can just focus on the thing that you're working on, one thing at a time, that will probably be you'll just get more done. You'll probably have more free time than you realize. And then otherwise, I recommend time blocking. Like if you're having an issue with just in general, you're feeling like there's so many things to do, you time block your schedule. And then just by doing that each day, like it'll be a little sloppy. You'll be perhaps a little frustrated for the first week, but you will get better and better at figuring out how much time certain things take. And then you'll probably be able to focus a little bit more because you know exactly what you're supposed to work on at certain times. And don't think that just because you make a schedule or create a plan that you have to stick to it. Things always change and you have to be flexible and adapt to whatever you're dealing with. But the fact is, if you can generally have an idea like the direction that you're going each day, it's going to be really helpful. I have a whole course on productivity. I don't push it too much, but it goes into a lot of those details. All right. Paul says, programmatic SEO is a way of doing SEO publishing at scale by replicating some kind of keyword but modifying it a little. It's replicating content, but okay, so examples are hotels in Rome, hotels in Paris, hotels in New York. And the original question was, what do I think about it? Oh, I have talked to, okay, so the original question was, have I had any guests and what's my opinion on the programmatic SEO? So here's the little example here. I've heard some people try to do this for local SEO, and I think I've heard some people, this is over the span of like 5 years. So I've heard some people say, yeah, I set up content like this and some of it ranks and some of it doesn't. It's really not like unique content adding a lot of value. It's just kind of like generic bullshit in there. And then, yeah, you're just modifying it a little. So I haven't tried it. I'm not super interested in doing anything like this. So I haven't looked at it closely, but I have a hunch that it might work on a little bit. But if you were up against people that were writing unique content for those cities, like it will probably do better. It's what you've described here sounds like a shortcut, and usually shortcuts are not going to end up working in the long run. Maria says, can I get enough of an audience with Pinterest with a nutrition health blog? I have 30 posts, but I'm losing enthusiasm. 11 months with this with very low analytics. So You have 30 blog posts. You're building an audience. Can you get enough audience with Pinterest, with nutrition, with anecdotes from old Hollywood? You know what? I don't know. Anything's possible. I mean, can you build an audience with Pinterest? Sure. You can probably do it with anything, right? People are doing Substack. They're building like paid email lists and stuff. You do anything, right? There's all these different outlets. Fucking do it on TikTok or Instagram, whatever, right? Can you build an audience? Sure. Can you earn any money? Is it going to be worthwhile? I don't know. But people can build an audience like really any platform, like even still, right? Like people shit on Facebook all the time for great reason. But I mean, you can still build a Facebook group and build a big community and all that stuff right now. And there were times and people built their businesses on Facebook, and then Facebook changed the reach, and then people had to run ads and their businesses fell apart because their business model was not based on running ads. It was based on like free reach. So, I mean, people are still talking to a couple of my friends the other day, and they still have hard-ons for like Facebook groups, which, I mean, people love them, and I hate Facebook, and I choose not to. I don't want to spend time there, and it doesn't matter to me if I'm like leaving some of the audience behind and that kind of thing, or they're leaving me behind, really, because I'm just like, I'm not going to participate on that bullshit, right? So basically, what was the question here? Can you build an audience? Yes, you can. Can you specifically do it in nutrition and health with Pinterest? Anecdotes from old Hollywood? That I don't know. If you're losing enthusiasm and you've been doing like that specifically for 11 months, I would look to see if there was any piece of that was working, and then to do more of that. If you're not identifying anything that's working in that system, then I would rethink the approach. So doing it harder maybe is not going to do anything, right? If you just brute force it, you may not end up in a spot where you're happy with what you're doing. Samuel says, do you think exercise and fitness equipment site can be affected with the Google Medic update? It's possible, but I'm not, I don't, you could find examples of sites that were impacted or not impacted. So yes and no. Yes and no. All right. Thane, what's up? Says, thanks for answering the question last week. I appreciate you guys hopping on. All right. Mediocre says, what about reverse lookup on competition niche websites as a way to discover profitable new niches? I imagine most successful marketers have more than one golden nugget. Is that frowned upon? So it's not necessarily, let's see, you could do that. Some people are going to like, basically when you first get started, you leave more footprints than you realize. But after you do this for a while, you learn you can kind of keep things in their own little silos. It's much harder to find people's like whole footprint in all their businesses. So you could try to figure that out, but I would say it's not necessarily frowned upon, because a lot of people will just say, hey, I'm really interested in X topic. And it may turn out that my friend has a site in X topic, but I love the thing. And maybe he or she acquired that site and they don't really care about it. Or maybe we just randomly both have sites in the same niche. That's possible too. So it's not really a big deal overall. Now, I have had people just straight up copy every single keyword from my site. That's pretty shitty, right? Like they literally copied the title, the same format. I don't understand like I mean, it's an open, like competitive market, right? So there's nothing like illegal about it, but it's just kind of silly. I'm like, why? Why? Like, come up with your own ideas. Like, do your own work. But, technically there's nothing illegal about it. It's just kind of a dick move. So to answer your question, is it frowned upon? No, but if you told someone, like if you came to me and you were like, hey, I uncovered someone's sites and I'm going to copy it, I'd be like, it's kind of a dick move. Why are you doing that? Come up with your own ideas. Okay, Paul says, do you miss Bozeman? I do. For certain pieces. There's far less people there, and it's a lot more like rugged, and we're closer to the mountains up there. There with fewer people, there's less traffic, and it's more peaceful, just in general. The big thing, it is so much warmer here. It is dramatically warmer in Colorado compared to Montana, or where we were in Bozeman. Bozeman was quite cold for a long time, and I partially enjoyed it. It got a lot more snow too. So I think, I can't remember. I think the last year we were there, let me look that up. Let's see. Snow in Bozeman in 2018. So, holy cow. Record-breaking snow. Well, someone can look it up, but how much snow did Bozeman get in 2018? It was a crazy amount of snow, basically. So here there's far less precipitation. We got more sunny days, and it's warmer in general. Like today, it's February 3rd, right? It's cooled off a little bit here in Longmont, but like this morning when I was finishing Georgie's walk, I was like sweaty and hot, and I changed into shorts. I think we may get a little cooler weather this afternoon, but it's just dramatically warmer. But we also went snowshoeing this past weekend, and I could show you. I actually uploaded a picture. Let's see. Yeah, so we went to Rocky Mountain National Park, went snowshoeing. That's Howlett Peak. This is Dream Lake right here for people that know the area. So yeah, we went out, and it was only, it's like an hour or so drive to get to the park. So very close, and it was in the 20s. There were like feet of snow. It was a little sketchy in some point, but like overall, it was pretty awesome. So I miss Bozeman in some ways, but in other ways, it is a little more convenient here. I've actually found like more people that are into some of the stuff that I'm into here in Colorado. So at the very beginning of this, I talked about the Mr. Money Mustache co-working space, MMMHQ. A lot of us just call it HQ, their headquarters. And there's a lot of people who are either retired or like semi-retired or just not working. And they get what we're doing, and they are financially independent, so they have a lot of options and flexibility. So if you're like, hey, let's go hiking on a weekday, like some of them can do it. So it's good down here. I mean, we bought a house. We like it down here quite a lot. So more beer here. There's a lot more good beer here. And there's a lot more good beer judges, and just, the greater population brings more traffic, but it also gives you a lot more flexibility and options. So, yeah. Good question. All right. So, Helen's out of here. See you later. And I think we're probably going to wrap it up. Fred is late. Fred, do you have any questions? You can rewind whenever we finish up, but I think I'm going to wrap it up here shortly. Paul also asks, what are my plans for the year? Business, courses, personal? Yeah, good question. So I'm not, I usually look like 1 quarter out or so, and I don't usually have like huge plans, but number one, I am pulling all my courses back in. So I launched a couple new ones last year. They are Site Growth Plan and HARO Linkbuilding. And then I've sort of revamped the Productivity Masterclass. So all of those are currently available, probably for like one more day. And I'm not even making a big deal about it. I know a lot of marketers will say, "Oh, I'm pulling these, buy now," but I'm just quietly pulling them off the shelf. And there's a couple reasons for that. So number one, I find it a little easier to just do the launches and just have like a cohort of people start. So there's a little support when people get in. People will have some questions on certain things, and then they move through the course, right? So from a support standpoint, it's a little more straightforward. The other thing, the actual bigger reason is if I just have courses that are available out there, people don't really pay much attention. It's like, yeah, it's available. Sometimes if people are excited, they will have a look, they'll see the courses that are available, and then they'll purchase it. It's great. But if you launch a course, there's scarcity involved. If you launch a course and say, hey, I'm selling it from Monday through Friday, it's coming up, you create a little buzz about it. This is a funnel, right? This is a sales funnel. And if you can present the right information in the right order and help people see how your material, your course or product can be helpful, I mean, it's a no-brainer for them. If they fit the sort of scenario and who the course is for, it's a no-brainer to check out the course. They'll get value from it. But if there's no scarcity and it's available all the time, no one is really thinking, hey, I need to solve that problem right now. So by actually like launching a course and open enrollment and close enrollment, it creates the scarcity so people will make a purchase. And if people haven't read, where's the book? It's called Influence. It's a paperback, the version I have. Where the heck is it? I have it. I'm sure I do. It was on the top. Yeah. So if people haven't read this book, it gives you a really good idea about like the sales techniques. And there's a lot of, even if you're not intending on selling anything, it's good to be aware of this stuff. And there's even sections in here that are like, hey, if you're on the other side, right? Like here's how you can deal with scarcity. And it is, it's reciprocation, commitment and consistency, social proof, liking, authority, and scarcity. Those are the 6 things that are listed here for influence. And if you could incorporate those into your sales material, it doesn't have to be all at once, but different pieces at different times, then you have like a powerful like persuasion funnel. And I think people know I'm literally telling you what I'm doing, but it helps you understand like how the thing can help you. The cool part with this book is it tells you, hey, if you are the consumer, here's how you can look out for this stuff. So if there's scarcity applied and you're thinking, hey, I don't want to miss out, you have to take a step back and think, all right, do I really need that thing? If there wasn't scarcity here, do I really need it? Do I really want to get it right now? So like if you read the book, it can help you like negotiate better if you are buying a car or a house or whatever. So you check out this book. So overall, courses are going to be pulled. I will launch them from time to time. My flagship course, Multi-Profit Site, is over at Internet Marketing Gold, but I'm pulling it from their sales area and I'm going to put it on my own platform. So behind the scenes over the last couple of weeks, I've been working on moving from Aweber over to Kajabi. And I've been working on a content audit for Niche Site Project. So a lot of infrastructure kind of detail-oriented work. And fingers crossed I'm not going to completely screw up the migration from Aweber over to Kajabi, but everything's going to live over there. I am really enjoying how Kajabi is set up so I can have my course. Technically, you can have your whole blog and everything live there, but I like to have a lean website and everything set up really nicely over a niche site project. I got rid of opt-in monster, so I've kind of stripped away a lot of the fancy stuff. I'm actually, even though I want to continue building my email list and hopefully get better at it, I got rid of opt-in monster. I don't think I'm going to do pop-ups. Like, I want to have a good user experience, and I don't want to pull I guess people and force them to sign up because of a pop-up. I'd rather them think, hey, this is so awesome. I do want to get more information from Doug and sign up for the email list. So overall, that's sort of the business and the course area. As normal, I'm probably going to end up taking a pretty good amount of time off. I don't have anything set up specifically, but over the past 2 years, I've taken anywhere from 2 to 3 months off, usually in large chunks. So there's a strong possibility that's going to happen again. Really enjoy, doing that. It forces you to set up systems and be efficient with your time, and it kind of strips away the noise. It's really easy to just get into a routine of just staying busy. But if you have to finish and then you're not doing work for a while, you have to figure stuff out, and you have to figure out what you need to work on. The other thing is, I did start that other YouTube channel where it'll be some self-improvement stuff. So those are some things that I've been working on, and I have not revealed yet the challenge for February. So I made it through dry January, and the overall thing is going to be monthly challenges, or always will be a monthly thing that I'm working on. For this month, February, it's meditation. So some people made recommendations. Sandro mentioned the keto diet, and someone else mentioned veganism. And I just didn't want to do either one of those. So in theory, I have no issues with veganism. I think it's fantastic if people are doing that. Great. I just love meat, and I love cooking the meat and just eating it, choosing the meat, all the things, right? So it's really, it would really just make me unhappy. So as far as the keto angle, I don't know. I have some resistance on that one. So part of it, I'm that's not even sustainable. But at the same time, I wasn't doing dry January as a sustainable situation either. But with the keto side, I was I'm not sure I'm super interested in doing all that stuff. It would take a lot of mental energy. And I think at this point in time, I'm just not super interested in doing that. I think I probably eat, I lean in that direction anyway, so it may not be as big of a deal, and it may be an easier thing to do. So, and all right, Zishan asks a question twice, so I'll get to that in a second. So you don't have to ask again. So just a little warning there for you. The other part is I want to make sure, I'm still answering Paul's question here. I want to make sure I'm working on stuff that I'm interested in. So, I am really enjoying sort of the challenges and doing a little self-improvement. Some of them may be shorter, 7 days and that sort of thing. So maybe a keto thing could work, Sandro, if I approach it on a shorter time frame, or give myself some kind of leeway, which is not the idea for keto, but it maybe makes a more interesting video, right? If I'm hey, I tried to do this, and I decided on one day I was just gonna have pizza. I love pizza, it turns out. The other thing is I can't share anything yet, but very strong possibility I'll be working on a podcast with someone outside of the marketing area in the personal finance area, which I'm really excited about. I think in the financial independence area, it's something I'm interested in anyway. And I think it could bring, just it has a chance to be a lot bigger than what I'm doing at Niche Site Project, just because it's a bigger market in general. And it's all new stuff for me, right? So at some point after you're talking about the same stuff over and over again, it gets a little more routine, not as interesting. All right, so we'll wrap it up here in a second. What's up, Marcus? Good to see you here. And mentions that Influence is a great book. Aleem says, do you think Google is putting less influence over links and more on CTR and bounce rate in the future? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't checked or tried to find any analytics or information on that or testing. So I would say links still matter a ton. I was chatting with a friend the other day who's doing like a massive guest posting campaign and ranking some crazy keywords. And you know what? The CTR, bounce rate, content quality, and all that stuff, I'm sure it matters. But you know what? The sites that were ranking the best had so many links. And you could see like better quality content further down that probably had a better CTR, a better bounce rate, all those other metrics, and just had more links. So again, like earlier, I mentioned you could find examples proving or disproving like both sides of that. So Zishan says, Doug, in 2021, a lot of people are still doing blogging in health and opinion related topics, like which does meet your money or your life, which was in 2017 and 2018. Is it okay if we go with these topics in 2021? Sure, you could do that if you want to. For me personally, I would aim for things that are not in that area, so that if future updates happen or different approaches are taken, then you're not in that area. However, right, I'll give a quick example. Let's say I was starting I got one. It's a little contrived, but just go with me on this one. I was starting a site on the bald lifestyle, bald people, and how to cure baldness. Maybe you rub some kind of paste on there that smells bad, but it's really effective. And essentially, it's kind of health related, little lifestyle, opinion related things too. Maybe that paste is, kind of hazardous to your health, but it's super effective, but it burns, And what I could do, right, because I'm not qualified other than being bald to talk about that, but I could have experts on, right? I can interview doctors and, the presidents of companies and really have experts and have authority on the website. Does that mean that because I'm not an expert, but I have all these other experts on there, does that mean that it doesn't have authority and it doesn't have trust built in because I have these very knowledgeable people in there? Well, I don't think so. I think that makes sense to me. And I'm sure, again, you could find examples in health and law. You could find places where the person isn't an expert, but they had guests on. So you could have a site that does have all those things. So if you're interested in it, back to the point earlier, if you're interested in the niche, then sure, you can go for it. You don't have to be the expert. If you're in for the long game, you could probably, work it out. All right, Fred says, how about a corner pop-up, less invasive? Potentially, but the idea here is I got rid of opt-in monster, and someone recommended, I think there's like something called ConvertBox and some other stuff. And basically I don't want to use extra software. So it's probably coming off a little like, it's not that I don't want to use extra software. It's I don't want to load extra scripts. So I had Opt-in Monster. I was using it for probably like 5-6 years. It was fine. I grew a big email list with it. Like functionality is great. It's just so slow. And like you try to load, the one line, the little external script, and there's like all this other garbage that's loaded on there. I'm sure there's like leaner solutions, and perhaps I'll add back something, but it definitely won't be Opt-in Monster just because, they raised their rates too. So they raised their rates. They gave me a good reason to move. So they raised their rates, and it was making my site load like 3 times as slow. Now it loads, usually in like under half a second if it's like a pretty lean page. Before it was taking like 2 seconds. So pretty dramatic change. As far as the corner pop-up, yeah, maybe a little less invasive, but at the end of the day, it's like if a person is taking the extra action to like sign up for the email list, they're going to be a little stickier. And at this point, I'm not trying to get every single person. Like I'd rather have a lower conversion rate. I'd rather have a smaller email list with people that like want to be on there than the people that they got the exit pop up and they were like, fuck it, I'll just sign up because of the exit pop up. I'd rather have people that like tried to get on the email list. So different approach. And, I respect people that have their pop-ups or however they want to do their marketing. No issue with it. It helps determine like the people that are in your audience or not in your audience. All right, Kiki says, the way I see it, we humans were always carnivorous, and even if we want to criminalize that, I don't think it's a matter of not eating meat, it's just not abusing it. Okay, and as we scroll down, I think we made it to the end. Hi Jar says, thank you from Morocco. A lot of people like your videos. Thanks. And Fred says, I hate adding plugins myself. I get it. What I realized is I said it, I sound like a cranky old man. I'm like, I don't want to put software on my blah, blah, blah. But really, it's like, I can have it, I can have the website where it's mostly giving information and people can sign up. I try to encourage people to sign up for the email list. I do want them to sign up, but as a website user, I actually landed on my friend's website the other day and a pop-up like popped up in like 1 second. I was like, get out of here. Like, I don't even know what the content was on the page yet. Like, why would I sign up for your email list before I know anything of the quality here? So I don't want those people. I guess if someone is not interested enough to sign up for the email list, that's cool. I don't want to make it inconvenient for everyone else. So it's just kind of a flip of the coin because I don't, fortunately, I don't have to have everyone. I'd rather have that smaller email list. So, and Chris says, hey mate, I like your new YouTube channel. It's a cool concept. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. And I think we're wrapping it up here. So we are set. Quick shout out again to Ezoic and Niche Website Builders. Appreciate it. If people want to check out the other YouTube channel, thanks Chris for mentioning that. You can follow the link in the description, and it'll be non-marketing stuff. So just informational stuff on challenges, and it's kind of vloggy. I'm trying to up my game as far as the production value. We'll see how it goes. I'm sure it'll be worse than I think and hope it will be at first, but I will get better. All right, Dan, see you later, buddy, and we'll end it up here. So let's get out of here. We'll see everyone next week. And if you're not on the email list, I do send out notifications for when these come out. I know notifications on YouTube are not so reliable, but I typically, like 99% of the time, unless I forget, will send out an email prior to these videos being published. So you can just go to nichesiteproject.com, click the green button, and then you can sign up for the email list. There won't be a pop-up. You have to take the extra action to sign up.